Lewis and Clark expedition is probably the best known story of the early exploration and expansion into the West. Departing from St. Louis in 1804, the expedition, named the Corps of Discovery, traveled through the territory of the recent Louisiana Purchase of 828,000 acres and beyond. It was all unfamiliar land. The expedition was initiated by President Thomas Jefferson. They departed with 45 hardy souls, including a boat crew and interpreters. They left and sailed up the Missouri River in the keelboat Pathfinder and two smaller flat-bottom vessels. Meriwether Lewis and William Clark led this remarkable journey. Lewis served as President Jefferson's personal secretary and was asked to lead the Corps. Clark had a military background. An equally important name is the 16-year-old Shoshone-born Sacagawea, who joined the group when they reached Mandan Territory. Seen here with her child, who traveled with the expedition, she proved invaluable as a guide, a translator. Her presence avoided conflict with several tribes along the route. Lewis's journals detail 39 encounters with various tribes. Seen here in amazement, watching Captain Clark, dressed in full uniform, demonstrate a unique weapon called an air rifle. It fired 22 rounds using compressed air instead of black powder, and sufficiently impressed the onlookers, thus avoiding conflict. Another catastrophe was avoided when Sacagawea, captured at a young age by a Lakota tribe, led the Corps to the Shoshone village where her brother was a chief. Their emotional reunion definitely saved lives on both sides. Approaching the Pacific coast while on the lower Columbia River, they were approached by the Chinook people. This depicts Sacagawea standing in the midsection of the Corps' vessel, with Lewis standing beside her, as she uses native sign to assure the Chinook of peaceful intentions. On the morning of November 16, 1805, the party saw the Pacific Ocean, and Sacagawea is pictured running along the beach, moccasins in hand, full of joy at their success. That moment of discovery is captured by the Oregon sculptor Stanley Wanless in his work entitled Arrival. The two explorers are represented with most likely an Indian now part of the Corps, while the discovery is being entered into their daily journal. A massive Newfoundland dog named Seaman was purchased by Lewis and became an indispensable part of the Corps, retrieving game from water, catching squirrels, which were considered good eating, and actually saving a few lives, including Lewis's on one occasion. The Corps of Discovery achieved the unimaginable 8,000 miles in 2.5 years, avoided serious conflict with all the native tribes. Only one death occurred, and that was sickness. No desertions, and back east, it was generally believed they had all perished. Two remarkable facts. There are more statues of Sacagawea throughout the United States than any other woman. And the loyalty of Seaman was such that when Lewis was buried in 1809, the dog would not leave the gravesite, refused to eat, and passed away. We'll now look at the early explorer artists that traveled and painted the upper Missouri River regions. In previously unexplored areas, they encountered many Indian tribes unfamiliar with the whites. George Catlin is the most important artist explorer of the early West, who has left an unmatched record of American Indian culture before, quote, being corrupted by westward expansion. In 1830, Catlin traveled from the Great Plains to the Rockies and from the Missouri River to the Mexican border, painting images of Indian customs. He visited over 100 tribes and produced 600 paintings. His portraits, like this image of White Cloud, a chief of the Iowas, have become prized for their accurate recording of specific figures in Native American history. This standing figure is Watchful Fox of the Sauk and Fox tribe. Catlin's genius was seeing the need to pursue his dream of painting all the Indian tribes. He captured each sitter's unique personality, never romanticizing them. Here is a Mandan ceremony called Bull Dance, with 8 figures in the center, impersonating the buffalo and calling for a successful hunt the next day. Here is Little Wolf of the Iowa people in full war paint. Considered among his finest works is this remarkably sensitive image of Osceola of the Seminole tribe in Florida. Perhaps a reflection of Catlin's premonition is this almost comical image depicting a highly respected Assiniboine chief who visited Washington, D.C. and returned in this dress, only to be criticized and ostracized by his tribe. Catlin tried desperately to get Congress to purchase and maintain the entire collection, and never received approval. On several occasions, he refused private offers to acquire the entire collection. Today, the largest exhibition of his portraits is in the National Gallery of Fine Arts in Washington, D.C. Seen here is a brilliant portrait of an Assiniboine chief by a young 23-year-old Swiss-born and trained artist. Less than 2 years after Catlin traveled the Missouri River, Carl Bodmer traveled the same route. It's well documented. The young Bodmer brought with him from Europe a mechanical music box, which intrigued the tribes that he encountered. The noise was considered good medicine. The expedition traveled 5,000 miles in 1834 and 1835. Bodmer's skill in painting extraordinary details is seen in this image of the elaborately attired Minnetaree chief. Their travel had taken them to the farthest outpost of the American Fur Company, Fort McKenzie in Montana. Witnessing an attack on the fort by Cree and Assiniboine convinced the party to return to Fort Clark and friendlier Mandan territory. Here Bodmer painted many portraits, including forebears, painted a year earlier by Catlin. Bodmer was equally impressed with forebears. Like Catlin, Bodmer witnessed the incredibly dangerous buffalo hunts and the ceremony asking for a successful hunt. At this time, Bodmer painted what many historians believe is the finest depiction of the Indians of the Upper Missouri. This is an Hidatsa Sioux performing the dog dance ceremony. The headpiece is raven or magpie feathers, and around his neck is a slip of red cloth. He is engaged in a loud and boisterous dance. The expedition stayed in the United States for only 2 years, and upon return to Europe, produced a full-color portfolio, including the Dog Dance Society. After the initial excitement waned, the portfolio was stored in Germany and forgotten, where it remained for close to 100 years. It was discovered in the late 1940s and, rightfully, returned to America. Upcoming in episode number 4 is the tragic account of the Trail of Tears and the Navajo Long Walk. Not one of our country's proudest moments. Don't miss it.